year, WNBA players were doing everything in their power to get rid of Caitlin Clark. These minimum wage earners, they did not want to be rescued by the Great White Hope. This year, WNBA players have gotten exactly what they wanted. Caitlin Clark has essentially missed the entire season, and the WNBA has suffered the consequence.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season didn't unfold like a feel-good sports movie. It played out more like a calculated takedown. While fans were dazzled by her record-breaking performances and viral highlights, a very different narrative was playing out behind the scenes. One that wasn't about basketball brilliance, but about resistance to change. Clark didn't just face tough competition, she was met with a level of physicality that often crossed the line. Elbows, body checks, and hard fouls that looked more like statements than defense became routine. Officials, oddly silent through it all, seemed reluctant to intervene. Game after game, questionable no-calls piled up, injuries followed, and the message was clear: this league wasn't going to roll out the red carpet for its new star. What happened to Caitlin Clark wasn't just about rough play, it was a challenge to her presence, her popularity, and what she represents for the future of the WNBA. This is the untold story of how the league tried, and ultimately failed, to dim her light.
Even been something like me and Steph have always talk about when we go and watch film, and even that New York game where I played really, really well. Obviously scored a lot of points. I think I had 9 assists or 10 assists that game. This just this last game this year. I started the fourth quarter off with 3 turnovers in a row or 2 turnovers in a row, and Steph yanked me, and she was like this is a learning moment. You got to be able to yes, maybe it could have been there, maybe you could have thrown a little bit better pass, maybe they could have caught it, but do we need that in this moment? No. And then she subbed me back in, and there was a play where I kind of got a steal, and we're going in transition, and Kelsey Mitchell just takes off down the middle of the floor, and so there's 2 people kind of by her, and I literally go to grab the ball, and then I just dribble out, and I literally just start smiling so big, and I look at Steph, and I told her after the game,
be on film.
Yeah, I'm you don't understand how hard it was for me to not.
From the moment Caitlin Clark laced up for her WNBA debut, it was clear she had entered a whole new arena, one that came with unspoken rules and a different kind of welcome. This wasn't the usual rookie initiation. It was physical, pointed, and unrelenting. Almost instantly, she found herself at the center of a storm. Seasoned veterans, many of whom helped build the league, didn't just play hard, they played with purpose. The message? Earn your place. The contact was constant, jarring fouls that went far beyond standard defense, hands grabbing at her off the ball, and a kind of body checking that felt more like policing than competition. What Clark faced wasn't just elite-level basketball, it was resistance from a system that seemed determined to make her prove she belonged. And for many watching, it felt less like tough love and more like open hostility.
Out there.
Definitely been hard.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go to every road game no matter what, whether I'm playing or not. It's hard because obviously I do feel this responsibility of being out there and playing, and not that I think there's a fear of any of this ever going away. That doesn't happen when LeBron or Steph get hurt. They're always gonna be there. Yeah.
Each time Caitlin Clark drove to the rim, it was less about scoring and more about surviving the impact. Defenders met her with shoulders, hips, and forearms, not just to stop her, but to send a message. Shots were challenged with such intensity, it often felt like more than just defense, it felt personal. This wasn't just tough competition. It was a deliberate effort to shake her, to silence the rising star who had captured headlines before ever playing a minute in the league. And while the physical beatdowns were relentless, they were only the beginning. What unfolded wasn't just about contact on the court. It was part of a wider, more strategic push to undermine the presence of a player seen by many as a disruptor, someone who represented a shift in power, attention, and the future of the WNBA.
Clark will miss at least 2 weeks with a left quad strain. Wednesday's game at the Mystics will be the first game she's ever missed, college or pro.
The non-stop physical punishment didn't just wear on Caitlin Clark's mindset, it was grinding her down physically, piece by piece. What started as aggressive defense quickly became a pattern of targeted contact that her body couldn't absorb forever. The toll was undeniable. Injury after injury began to pile up, derailing what could have been a dominant rookie campaign. First came a strained left quad, enough to sideline her during a critical stretch of the season. Just as she pushed through recovery and clawed her way back into the lineup, another blow followed, a painful groin injury that once again forced her off the court. These weren't isolated setbacks, they were part of a punishing cycle that left her battling to stay upright, while her team struggled in her absence. And all of it unfolded just as fans and the league were looking to her as a centerpiece for the future.
Fortunately, Caitlin Clark will miss her second straight game due to a left groin injury. Clark missed last night's game against the Los Angeles Sparks in Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the same issue. There is no official word on the severity of the injury, but the team said that they would be taking it day to day. This will be the 7th game Clark has been sidelined for this.
Then came the cruelest blow yet, another groin injury, this time on the opposite side. For someone who had never missed a single game throughout her college career, Clark now found herself trapped in a frustrating cycle of recovery and relapse. Start, stop, sit out, repeat. To the casual observer, it might have seemed like a string of unfortunate injuries, just bad luck in a tough league. But when you step back and consider the pattern, the repeated hard hits, the unchecked aggression, the uncalled fouls, the picture becomes harder to dismiss. At some point, the question demands to be asked, were these injuries simply the cost of playing at the highest level? Or were they the result of a calculated effort to wear down and sideline the WNBA's most talked about talent? Because what Clark endured didn't feel random, it felt designed.
This morning, ESPN is reporting that Caitlin Clark has injured her groin for the second time this season. Clark left last night's game in the final minute, holding back tears after grabbing at her leg. She just returned back to WNBA action after missing 9 games for 2 other leg injuries. Despite the apparent injury, Clark racked up 14 points and made 4 of 14 shots.
As the hits kept coming, another troubling pattern began to surface, one that had little to do with players, and everything to do with those holding the whistle. Time and time again, obvious fouls committed against Caitlin Clark were flat out ignored. The officiating didn't just miss calls, it seemed to operate by a different set of rules when she was involved. Fans watching at home were stunned. Commentators voiced their disbelief. Her coaches were visibly outraged. Because while other players were drawing fouls for minor bumps or glancing contact, Clark was being hip-checked, shoved mid-air, even knocked to the floor, and the game just played on. It wasn't subtle. The double standard was glaring. And it begged the question, why was the league's most high-profile rookie being denied the basic protections routinely given to her peers?
Do want to play, like you want to give people something to cheer about or scream about, or people spend so much time and money and resources to come and watch you play, and it's been cool to see people continue to show up, and for my teammates, whether they're fans of the Fever or just fans of myself, they're continuing to show up and support, and
Eventually, the frustration reached a breaking point, and it was Caitlin Clark herself who lit the fuse. In a moment of visible exhaustion and biting honesty, she dropped a one-liner that echoed far beyond the arena, "I'd be an excellent referee." It was sharp, it was deliberate, and it struck a nerve. What seemed like a simple quip instantly caught fire online, spreading across social media like wildfire. Fans rallied around it. Memes exploded. Sports shows replayed the clip on loop. But beyond the viral moment, the message landed hard. Clark's comment cracked open a conversation the league could no longer dodge. The officiating wasn't just inconsistent, it was under national scrutiny. That one sentence forced the WNBA to confront a credibility crisis that had been bubbling just beneath the surface.
Viewership and ticket sales are up across the WNBA, and then and they're also, when you don't play, there's a dip, a substantial dip. So how do you handle, does it impact your patience? You know what I mean? You're coming back from this injury and you know this, everybody knows this, that when you play that changes.
Yeah.
I guess the better question is, how are you managing it so it doesn't impact your patience?
What made the league's silence even harder to comprehend was a fact that couldn't be ignored: the numbers. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a rising star, she was a revenue machine. Her presence alone had transformed the WNBA into a headline-grabbing, record-breaking spectacle. Whenever Clark stepped on the court, the impact was immediate and massive. Viewership skyrocketed. Networks that had never prioritized women's basketball were suddenly broadcasting games to millions. Social media buzzed. Merchandise flew off shelves. The Caitlin Clark effect wasn't a theory, it was a financial and cultural tidal wave. And yet, even as she drew in more eyes than the league had ever seen, she was being left unprotected. When injuries sidelined her, the numbers told a different story, interest dipped, ratings dropped, and the momentum stalled. It was a baffling contradiction. How could the league allow its biggest asset to be repeatedly battered, knowing full well what she meant to its future?
I think early on, with the first couple injuries, I was I need to get back, but I think, my mom texted me, after this last injury, and, they know how hard it's been on me, but my mom was you've taken so much time for everybody else, you have to take time for yourself now, so just trying to do that.
Take this for context. When Caitlin Clark played in a nationally televised game on ABC, it pulled in a staggering 5 million viewers. That single regular season matchup outdrew several WNBA Finals games from years past. The numbers weren't close, her influence was undeniable. Clark wasn't just a talented rookie. She was the league's most bankable star, its headline act, and a marketing dream come true. So when the league repeatedly failed to protect her on the court, it wasn't just a lapse in judgment, it was a disastrous business move. Ignoring the physical targeting of your top draw isn't just ethically questionable, it's financially reckless. Clark wasn't just playing the game. She was the game, and allowing her to be pushed to the sidelines sent the wrong message to fans, sponsors, and future stars alike.
I feel like I would be a really good ref, though, on the side.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't miss the call.
Backseat ref.
The real turning point in this story didn't emerge from a fiery press conference or a formal league inquiry. Instead, it came in the form of a simple, heartfelt text from Caitlin Clark's mother. After yet another punishing injury and the mounting pressure that came with it, both physical and emotional, her mom's message arrived at just the right moment. It was a lifeline, a moment of clarity that shifted Clark's outlook entirely. Sometimes, the most powerful words come quietly, and this one changed the course of her journey in ways no headlines could capture.
The hard moments, but like, I don't really care what people say. At the end of the day, like, I'm in a position where there's going to be, you know, criticism. There's going to be people that love me. Like, that's what happens when you're playing sport at the highest level. Like, that's how it goes for everybody, whether you're a football player, basketball player, baseball.
You know you've taken so much time for everyone else, now you have to take time for yourself. That simple message from her mother cut through the chaos like a beacon. For the first time, Caitlin Clark realized she couldn't just endure the relentless punishment for the league or the fans. She had to start playing for herself. It was the turning point, the moment she shed the role of victim and chose to fight back with purpose. When Clark finally returned to the court, something had changed. There was a new fire in her eyes and a defiant edge to her play. She wasn't just battling opponents anymore, she was challenging the entire system. The war turned subtle but fierce. After one particularly blatant no-call, cameras caught a knowing smirk on her face, a quiet act of rebellion aimed straight at the referee. Millions of fans instantly understood the message. Clark was no longer silent. She wielded her platform with razor-sharp precision, weaving pointed critiques of officiating into interviews and social media posts, skillfully pushing back without giving the league any grounds to retaliate. But Clark wasn't fighting this battle alone for long. As the league remained slow to act, her fans stepped up, transforming from casual viewers into a digital army of watchdogs and advocates. Social media flooded with meticulous slow-motion breakdowns, viral compilations, and detailed analysis exposing a disturbing pattern of unchecked aggression. Hashtags like #ProtectTheStar and #FixTheWhistle trended for days, tagging the league, sponsors, and major sports outlets, amplifying the pressure for accountability. This outcry created a public relations crisis for the WNBA. While the league could ignore a single rookie, it could not ignore millions of passionate fans demanding change. Inside the locker rooms, tensions boiled over, revealing a sharp divide. On one side stood veteran players who resented the spotlight on Clark, dismissing the fouls as part of the game, just tough basketball, they said. But behind closed doors, a surprising number of players, both young and seasoned, reached out to Clark privately. One veteran confided, "You just said out loud what we've been screaming in locker rooms for years." They were tired of the inconsistent officiating and saw Clark as the catalyst for the reform the league desperately needed. A quiet civil war was unfolding within the WNBA. The conflict reached a boiling point in a moment that would be remembered forever. Fresh off her latest injury return, Clark powered to the rim, only to be hammered by a defender in a play everyone saw clearly, except the referees. The whistle stayed silent, and the arena erupted in boos. The camera locked onto Clark's face, this time without a smirk. Instead, she stood firm, locking eyes with the official responsible for the missed call. The silent stare-down stretched on, electric and unyielding. The message was unmistakable, the game had changed. Moments later, during a three-point attempt, a defender barely brushed her, and this time, the whistle blew. The crowd roared. Clark turned to that same referee, gave a slow, deliberate nod, and calmly sank her free throws. She had won the battle of wills. Caitlin Clark made it through her brutal rookie year, but this war is far from over. She endured a deliberate campaign of physical intimidation, compounded by officials who failed to protect her. Yet she emerged stronger, more determined, and unbreakable. Her rookie season is a story of resilience, a refusal to be silenced or pushed out. Clark is reshaping the league in real time, forcing the WNBA to confront its own contradictions. The real question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark can handle the pressure, she has proven she can. The question is whether the league is ready to evolve and protect the player who is single-handedly taking the game to new heights. Because the fight for the soul of the WNBA has only just begun.